and I will go ahead and get started. What I would ask is that everyone mute themselves, and if you would prefer, you can switch your Zoom to speaker view, and you will see that in the upper right hand corner. You can go and click the view and change that from gallery to speaker. And when we get to the point at which we're doing Q&A, you can feel free to switch it back to gallery view if you like. My name is Dr. Simone Cummings. I'm the Dean of the School of Business and Technology at Webster University. And this event is part of our Webster Women in Business series. We meet generally once a month, and we have programming that is designed to support women in particular, but it is open to men as well as women. We have a special guest speaker today, Dr. Alice Prince, which is why many of you have probably decided to join us today, and we're very appreciative. But I want you all to know that we do meet every month. We have a LinkedIn site, Webster Women in Business, that we would encourage all of you to join. And certainly I would encourage all of you to reach out to me. We'll make sure that we put a link in the chat to our information, because we would definitely encourage you to come back. So I'm going to do away with the formalities for right now, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Dr. Prince. So Dr. Prince, Alice, is one of my favorite people. She's one of my sorority sisters, a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And I've known Alice for several years. She served as the executive director of an American Job Center, where she lives and prospects of participants. She had, when she worked there, a $25 million budget that she was responsible for various programs and activities. She's been in charge of a number of state and federal contracts. I'm sure she's going to talk a little bit about that today, but she left essentially that role. She also has done work for the Diocese of St. Louis, and she currently runs, she's the CEO for Pathways United. And you've probably seen Alice. She had a show, Good Morning St. Louis. She's very active in the community. I mean, she's a wonderful woman. And today she's going to talk a little bit about what happens when things occur in your life that are rather traumatic, in the sense that, you have, I don't want to say the word scandal, but let's say scandal associated with your name. How do you overcome that? And she's going to tell us a little bit about her experience and give us some recommendations and some tips for what we can do when things happen that we don't expect. And all of a sudden, we're in a situation, we're in a crisis, we have to deal with that crisis, how we can move forward and how we can grow from that crisis. So Alice, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Cummings, my soror. I love you too. But I absolutely have to tell you, if we get 5 more people on this call, we'll be up to 45, and that's 3 glasses of wine. So Simone said that this call will only have about 15 people on it. And so now we're up to 40. And so if anybody would like to invite 5 more people on that, so that Simone can give me 3 glasses of wine, for which I'm sharing one with Miss Denise, I would be forever grateful. But thank you so much for your warm welcome. Simone, I have to tell you that this is my first time speaking about this in public. I've always spoke to God about this situation. I've always spoke to my very close friends about this situation, but it's my first time ever speaking about it in public. So I'm super honored that my alma mater, I graduated from Webster University, has asked me to come back and share my story in hopes of helping other women who find themselves in this predicament. So absolutely. First, I want to say I'm an alum of Webster. I graduated with my graduate degree in communications with an emphasis in crisis communication. So I learned how to maneuver in crisis strategies, crisis communication, crisis media. But never in a million years did I think that I would be in a crisis communication situation. Never in a million years did I think that I would have to learn the things that I learned at Webster University. I would have to apply them to my own life. But I found myself there in 2018. And so it was really interesting about what the topic is, reinventing yourselves from rumors. The first thing I want to say is I loved working for the city. I absolutely did. And the best part about working there is that I know that we changed lives. I know that we met people where they are. I know that we did some out the box stuff, like we blew up the box and we pushed the envelope to get people jobs. And that is and was my only thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to educate. I often say I feel like I have the bloodlines of Harriet Tubman because through hell, high water, I wanted to make sure I was able to set people free. I wanted to make sure that I was able to increase the overall collective consciousness of our community. I wanted to make sure that I was a part of the solution for the root causes of crime and poverty in our community. I wanted to make sure that I broke generational curses, but also made it possible for generational wealth. So that's why I started the first and only 24-hour workforce high school before COVID, where we had 24-hour access to education. We had 24-hour access to everything else for our young people, clubs, East St. Louis, liquor. They were able to get put in jail 24 hours a day. Why not afford them the opportunity to go to school 24 hours a day? That's why I went inside of the workhouse and inside of jail and made sure that those inmates were ready for work on day one. And that does mean soft skills, but that also means getting things like your social security card and your birth certificate. And then it also means who else around you does not have a job? Because when you come back out of jail, everybody in your circle, in your household needs to be a part of a route to prosperity. So that did mean every Saturday going into the projects in the new houses, knocking on doors, saying, listen, who in here don't have a GED? Who in here needs a job? That did mean extending hours at Slate from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and having Saturday job club. But what happens when you push the envelope, people push back. And so when people pushed back, I wasn't strong enough physically to answer the rumors. And it was a very heartbreaking situation. It shattered my heart because when you put your heart and soul into something and then to see it crumble right before your eyes, it was the worst experience of my life. At night, when the scandal or when the rumors started circulating, I used to think like, God, I don't want to be Joe. I don't want this to be my testimony. And that's the honest to God truth. I used to have to pray and talk with my kids because when scandal hits you, it also hits your kids. And they were going to school at the time. And it was very hard. And so I I quit. I resigned, not because the mayor wanted me to resign, but I resigned because I no longer wanted to be clickbait. I no longer wanted to be the subject of scandal or the subject of rumors, even though I knew I had done nothing wrong but try to help a bunch of people and save a bunch of lives.
I said this one.
I knew for a fact that I did not want to be a part of that. I didn't want them to write my legacy. I also knew that I didn't want to fight back that way. I didn't want to fight the same way that they fought me. I wanted to fight in a different rink. So what I mean was they hit me, I didn't want to hit them back. They talked about me. I didn't want to talk about them back. They tried to air my dirty laundry. I didn't want to air their dirty laundry back. What I wanted to do was change and fight in a different rink from a different perspective. I needed to reinvent myself because I know I still have the legacy of my 3 kids who also were old enough to experience it and also old enough to hear the news and get the Google alerts on my name. I knew I needed to do something more for them. So I'm going to take a break right there just so that I can take a deep breath. Because again, as I said, that this is the first time of me sharing this publicly. So nothing about this story is easy for me. So give me a little bit of grace. So going back to not wanting to be Job and not wanting to be Ruth, I then had to say, well, who are you to tell God what your testimony will be? Who are you to tell God what your test will be? Who are you to tell God what this mess is going to be? Because you're going to have a greater message. Who are you to tell God that these pillars of pain right now won't be pillars of power? Who are you? You don't get to choose the battles. Where is your faith? And so with that, I began to reinvent myself. I no longer care about the rumors. I knew who I was. I know it's unfair. I tried to clean up my name on the internet when you Google my name, but I can't afford it. It's over $20,000 to do that. Media knows what they're doing when they just go right outside the line to defame characters. And it's very unfortunate, but it happens to women all the time. And so my group, my circle of women were the women who helped me through this time. My circle of women, it was some people that said, oh, don't get by her because, her reputation, will spill over to your reputation. But it was some women that said, no, come on, Alice. Get up. I'm taking you to Ruth Chris. And then after Ruth Chris, we're going to a massage. And oh, yes, you're going to still continue to go to these galas with me. It was those women that helped continue to build me up and build my confidence back up and help to give me everything that I needed. They helped nurture my seed so that I could continue to grow and do what it is that I'm supposed to do and live out my purpose. And so for that is why I'm here today. Like, I know that I'm standing on the shoulder of some amazing women, my friends, but also my ancestors, also the Ida B. Wells and the Claudette Colvins and all the other unnamed unknowns that had to endure, but still persevered while they endured. I also know that statistically, Black women, but Black women are scandalized and demonized way more in the media. I know that for a fact. The FBI investigation was a lie. And the only reason why I'll tell you that is because if you call the FBI right now and ask, are you being investigated? They're going to say, we can't confirm or deny. So there's no way that they would have confirmed or reported it out to a media. But how could the media get away with such things? As a Black woman, I felt like my life, my reputation, my legacy didn't matter because nobody looked at that. On the flip side, there was an FBI investigation, but it wasn't for me. Some people went to jail. And guess what? I'm not going to tell you who went to jail, but I will tell you that the contracts happened way before my time. And it was a bunch of men. But those men's names never got released. It never happened in the city. Our media coverage never covered it. But those are the double standards between men and women. And as I told you, I'm not fighting in their ring, so I would never do what was done for me. So I would never say, the names and what happened and all of that, because that's not who I am as a person. And so moving forward, I knew that No matter what, I had to stay true to me. I had to stay true to my heart. I had to stay true to my journey. I had to stay true to my page, my passion, and stay true to my purpose. And so that's what I did. So that's why when I say I never hit back, because I'm an integrous person and I operate with integrity all the time, even when it's hard. So now I am the owner, founder and owner of Pathways United. I'm the CEO, and I'm so proud of that. Right out the gate, I got a lot of job offers, but I said never again would I allow anybody else to have my destiny or hold my destiny in their hands. So I said, no, I don't want a 9-to-5, but I'll take a contract because I want to build my company. So right out the gate, I got a contract with St. Louis Archdiocese. Right out the gate, I got a contract with the state of Washington, the whole state, to help with their education system and to work with indigenous people on indigenous land. Shortly after that, I got a first big contract with the federal government. So we knew it could not have been no kind of investigation, because then they wouldn't turn around and give you a $250,000 contract. Right off the gate, I got another contract with the federal government. Right after that, I got another contract in New York. And guess what, y'all? We just gonna keep getting contracts because we're gonna keep doing what we need to do to serve our community. Right now, if you are not following Pathways United on all social media, please do. We are on Instagram at Pathways United. We are on Twitter at Pathways_United. Please follow me on all social media. I am at Dr. Alice Prince on Instagram and on Twitter at Dr. Alice Prince 1. If you are interested or know anybody interested in any entrepreneurship programs, because we are about building economic wealth, especially in bioenergy, please email us at info@pathwaysunited.org. That's info@pathwaysunited.org. See, as I'm telling my story, I want to make sure that I'm able to help someone else into their own pathways to prosperity. So how do you reinvent yourself? One, make sure you are healthy, happy, and whole. That's the first thing. Make sure that you have a mental check-in. Make sure you see a therapist. If you're going through something, make sure your mental and emotional state is okay. That's the first advice, because I had to get me together first. I couldn't operate from a hurt place. I couldn't operate from a place of trauma. I couldn't operate from a place of anger and madness. I could not do that. I had to forgive all of those people, not for them, but for me. Forgiveness is always for you. It's not for the other person. So I had to operate out of that place. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, really, my grandmother gave me this advice. And she told me, Alice, what people say about you, it's none of your business. So you got to keep doing you. I didn't concentrate on the rumors. I continued to hold my head up high and do my business, do what I knew that I was supposed to do. I know what I'm ordained to do. I talk to God for myself. I'm aligned with him. So continue to do you, despite any of the rumors. Because guess what? My grandmother told me this too. Honey, they talked about Jesus. God rest my grandma's soul. But that's the absolute truth. 3, form a positive community, a group of women that are unapologetically themselves and it's going to love you unconditionally. My group, my rock solid internal group, they prayed for me. They took me out. They smothered me with so much love. I couldn't help but to come up out of my situation. Surround yourself. So that's my third point. Make sure you surround yourself. My fourth point and my final point is just to know you can do it. It's called hope in the hard. Even when you are in a hard place, you gotta have hope. Hope in the heart. Just know that you can do it. Know that you can pivot. You don't have to look for validation from anybody. You can continue to grow. Know that blazing a trail is nothing easy about it. And along the journey of struggle, you're going to pick up these gems, but you're only going to pick them up if you go through the journey. See, the true treasure is found in a journey, not in a destination. The true treasure is found in your uncomfortable spot. Your true faith is tested when you can't see your way out. But just know where there's vision, there's provision. And if he brought you to it, he gonna bring you through it. Know in your heart you're unstoppable. Because through him, all things are possible. Know that. Hope in the hard. So I just want to thank you guys so much for allowing me to be here. That is my time. She said 20 minutes. I gave you exactly 20 minutes. Again, if you are not following us on social media, please do. We're on IG at Pathways United. We're on Twitter at Pathways_United. I am on Instagram at Dr. Alice Prince. I am on Twitter at Dr. Alice Prince 1. We have lunch and learns. We have morning coffees. If you're asking, if you're like, Alice, I'm connected to you and I want to help you with this movement, you absolutely can. You absolutely can. Help share our program. Allow us to come and take over your social media so we can talk to your people about bioenergy, about economic opportunities through entrepreneurship. If anybody on this call knows anything about renewable energy, sustainable energy, environmental racism, environmental justice, if you know anything or any bioenergy companies across the world, introduce us. Because our next path that we're blazing is called Black Women in Bioenergy. And so we want to connect with other companies that would like to amplify our message and our platform. We want to connect with other women, all women that who are interested in either being an ally and amplifying our voice. Our voices are also interested in being a part of our programs and our movement. Right now, you can also email us at info@pathwaysunited.org. So thank you so much. And Dr. Cumming, the floor is now yours.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Prince. We really appreciate it. That was very inspiring, I have to say. And
I'm holding up 3 though, because I still be at 51.
Yeah, we're good. We're good for dinner, drinks, all of that.
Okay.
So I want to start. First, I want to ask you, there was one question in the chat about bioenergy and what exactly is bioenergy. So I want to ask you that. And then I want to turn this back around to sort of your topic and ask you if you can talk a little bit about someone going through a situation now. You gave us some tips in terms of what you think people should do. But when they're in that immediate crisis, what would you recommend? So let me start first by asking you to talk about bioenergy and what is bioenergy, and then, moving back to that other topic.
Absolutely. So bioenergy, first of all, whoever answered that question, please email us at info@pathwaysunited.org. I'm going to give you a 60-second spiel on bioenergy and why you should be involved, but I definitely want to connect with you on a one-on-one situation. Bioenergy really impacts our entire community. When you talk about bioenergy, when you talk about environmental racism, when you talk about environmental justice, it really does impact our community. And we have programs that will help you create your own technology and get funding for it. So when you think about how asthma rates are higher in disenfranchised communities. When you think about the lack of solar power, wind energy, renewable energy in disenfranchised communities. When you think about the Flint water crisis, and then when you think again and realize that Flint is still in a water crisis, when you think about air pollution, when you think about how actually Black and brown communities are hotter than our counterparts because there's no plants and trees in our community. That's all bioenergy. So think about that and then come up with a technology or a way to solve those problems, and we'll help you get funding. See, I truly believe that if you live it, you should lead it. A young person taught me that. And so we live it in this community. And so we need to be the people that's leading the work, leading the technology, leading the innovation. Okay, so that was my 60-second spiel about bioenergy. Again, if that was you, please email us at info@pathwaysunited.org. Okay, your next question, what should you do? The first thing that you have to take inventory and see if it's mine was extremely public. And because it was public and it had hit TV, and I remember first calling a reputation manager to get the links down, and he said, well, Dr. Prince, your name was Googled 365 times today. We're gonna start off at the $20,000. I was like, oh, there's no way. I can't fight. That it's not a fair fight when you're up against a huge media conglomerate and it's just you, this little Black girl who grew up in the Ville neighborhood in a 1-bedroom apartment, although we thought it was a big house, but it was just 1 bedroom. There was no way for me to do to combat that. So first I would just survey the inventory about, to see if you could get to the source of it. If you can get to the source of it and stop it and mitigate it, and come out with a lot of positive stories and real stories and truthful stories and factual information. And if you have a platform to amplify it, that would be great before it gets really big. So if you could stop it before it starts, it's the best thing that you should try to do.
Thank you. I got another comment that some people don't know exactly what happened, and I don't know if you want to go into that detail.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was working at Slate for 11 years. I loved it. I loved every part of it. The programs were innovative. They were winning awards. I took a $325,000 budget and built it to over $1 million just in my department alone, millions of dollars just in my department. We had innovative programs like Prison to Prosperity, Youth Build, 24-hour high school. I worked with the court systems for how they do it was called the Civil Liberties Program. So if they came in with a warrant, the city courts would take away their warrant, provided that they participated in programs, workforce programs at Slate. I had a Slate office in Kim Gardner's office. So all of these things, right? And then we get a new mayor. And the mayor is like, I want my own person in office, which is fine. Like, the mayor should be able to pick their cabinet member. And so I was picked. I was chosen to do it. Now, mind you, so I had been working at the organization for 10 years, over a decade, no issues, right? But as soon as I got that top position, that dream position, that's when it all came crumbling down. And I think it was a lot. I call it the perfect storm, because of course there were, all these disgruntled employees, because it was like, well, how did she get the job? And I didn't get the job. Like, I had been there, some people had been there for 20 years. Some people had been there for 30 years. Some people had, somebody, mama or aunt or uncle probably was promised that job. Like, I don't know. I always say it's like, hate the game, don't hate the player. Like, I'm excited that I got excited, that I got picked. And so it was that. And then there was some other issues about an employee that used to be an elected official that was also working with Slate. But again, like, I didn't hire him. I was just at the mid-level management range when he got hired. But they made a big issue when I became the executive director. So it was a whole bunch of stuff. And a lot of the headlines, and I think I spent like $10,000 for furniture at Office Depot, but we had over like 200 people, 100 to 200 people coming in daily. And I always said I wanted Slate not to look like, I wanted Slate to look like hope. I wanted to give people hope. And I think environment matters. And so I wanted our community to have nice stuff. So I think they was probably mad at me about the furniture. You know, the furniture didn't go in my house. It went to the community. We did a workforce podcast. We did workforce Wednesdays. It was just a lot of stuff. And I just think that people did not like my aggressiveness. They didn't like my approach. But honestly, I didn't ask for permission because I knew I was doing what I was supposed to do, and it's help my community. So with that being said, there was so it was a perfect storm. So I had this person that elected officials didn't like. I had, a whole groundswell of movement that didn't, that I led a team of about 100 people. So maybe 50% of them didn't like me and was flabbergasted when I got the job. And so it was just a perfect storm. Nobody, I truly will never know, and that's fine. But the headlines came out, FBI investigation. She spent $10,000 on furniture. You know how you could take something like this and then turn it around. And that's what happened. And as I said, now we know it was the FBI investigation. This wasn't on me. The FBI investigated, and them people then got indicted. They in jail. So it did happen, but it wasn't me. And there's no way for me to go back and set the record straight. And of course, the news is not going to do that because they use me as clickbait. And that's exactly what I said in my resignation. I'm like, I'm no longer going to be your clickbait. Like, you're not going to get views and hits off of me because I'm hurt for real. Like, I'm broken for real. Like, how do you work somewhere for over a decade and only have glowing references and reviews all over the country? And then like 6 months in, it gets destroyed. So that's what happened for those people who don't know. But I'm stronger because of it.
If you had a chance to go back and do things a little differently, would you? And if so, what would you do differently?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that all good leaders should always take a self-examination. Now, for me, and for what I employ my current team to do is always to see how you can be a better version of yourself each and every day. We all fall short of his glory. None of us are perfect. So absolutely, Dr. Cummings, I probably would get along with my board a little bit better. I probably was dismissive, like, I'm trying to save lives. So I'll probably get along with my board a little bit better so that I could have had more of advocacy. And I probably would not have made swift changes so quickly because change scares people. But at the end of the day, I know that, and I knew then, and I know now that I needed to save lives, and lives were at stake. Every day somebody didn't have a job. Poverty is the root cause for so many people. And I knew that. And so I moved very aggressively and very intentionally to give people jobs. So there are tons of things looking back. And I'm saying, oh, absolutely, I would do something different and better. But guess what? I do that every day anyway. Every day of my life, I do that. Every day of my life, I'm like, okay, Alice, how can you be a better version of yourself? And my team, the Pathways United team would definitely attest to that. Every day, every week, we're doing professional development. And I'm telling my team, I want you to do professional development for you. And I do professional development for me. So every single day, that's my mantra. How can I be a better version of me?
Thank you. There are questions. Giselle Marcus has a question. Giselle.
Okay.
So, Dr. Prince, my question was, you had mentioned that to fix your reputation, that, the cost of that, we call that the bounty maybe, is $20,000. So the question that I have for you is, are there any other methods to attempt to do that may cost less? Because clearly $20,000 is a lot of money, particularly when you didn't create the problem, you know?
Absolutely. And because I was unemployed at the time, you know, when I resigned, but absolutely. So the internet works off algorithms. So the more that you put out there, that news will soon get buried. The older it gets, and the more you put out there. So like if you I'm gonna say if you Google my name right now, but if you do, you'll see a bunch of articles that I've written. I have been blessed to be a part of 2 books that are international bestsellers. One is in the book Grit, and my chapter is Learning How to Kill. Yes, my mom taught me how to kill a man. When I was in 2nd grade. It's a very good read. You can also download the chapter or listen to the audio chapter on the website at pathwaysunited.org or draliceprince.com. I also wrote another book that is also an international bestseller. I'm sorry, I was a part of another anthology that is also an international bestseller in 8 countries. And that is The Life and Legacy of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which I love. And my chapter is the chapter I penned is called Always Last in Line. And it just talks about what her legacy means to me as a Black woman. But that book, my chapter is also available for free download on the website, which is www.pathwaysunited.org or draliceprince.com, as well as the audio version is available. I also have written another book. It's a children's book. It's called My Birthday is Different. And it's designed to talk for parents to talk to young people about masking and about, having birthdays and having these special moments that look different, but they can still be special and live in the moment. I've also penned a few articles in Thrive Global. I just had another article to be published about Black women in entrepreneurship. So I think that, Giselle, to answer your question, which is a very good question, the one thing you have to do is just flood the internet with who you really are. And so so I've been busy working with flooding the internet about who I really am, so that I can tell my story. Those people don't they don't deserve or get to tell my story for me. If you live it, you should lead it. And so I'm leading it right now.
I love that. Thank you. I want to open it up for questions. If you have a question, please feel free to make a note in the chat, raise your hand. We'd like to address any questions that anyone has at this point.
No question is off limits.
No question is off limits? Well, let me ask you this, Alice.
Oh, Lord. Except for Simone, I shouldn't have gave her that green light. No, go ahead.
Since Carlton is on the phone, how did your husband handle this?
Oh, he had an attitude with everybody. Like how he handled it. Honey, some people, like I had to talk to him, babe, we still got to be professional. He said, no, you have to be professional. Like he don't play about me. So yeah, like it was like that for him. So he probably needed a little bit more therapy than me, because he, like the forgiveness that I have in my heart, he does not share that same forgiveness, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, and I have friends like that too, that are like, okay, on site. Like, Alice, we know that you've grown, but we are not, and we're comfortable with not growing and making it be like that on site. So I'm just being honest.
Well, that's good, and that's what we appreciate. That's what we look for in these sessions. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah, and I had to also and here's the whole thing. I had to educate my kids too. Don't get on the internet. Don't go back and forth with people. Don't respond. As a matter of fact, I want you to block and unfriend people. So as a family, we promise never to Google it, never to click on a link. Like, they would never get our family's algorithms. We no longer, never do we even put on the news station. Never, I won't even call the news station out right now, but never do we even watch the news station. But that was an education I had to give to my kids as well, because people could be so rude and mean on the internet. So I had to go through and walk with them through, okay, no, we're not going to engage with Twitter trolls. We're not going to engage with insensitive people. We're like, if nobody else knows me, like you know me. I had a girlfriend today to say, you know what, Alice, I never asked you about this because I know you. I know you. I never asked you about it because I know you. The only thing that I did was pray for you. And so I knew I had a team of people praying for me, and I didn't even know it. I know it now, but she was like, I never even brought it up to you because I know you. But it was a situation like with my kids and with my family who lives out of town, and people sending them links and they are trying to connect them. And so, absolutely, it like as a family, and I'm talking about my friends too, it hurt so many people, not just me.
Okay, we have another question, Alice. Thank you for that.
Okay.
The question is, question and comment, we know that the road to getting over things is never straight and narrow. Were there ever times in your journey you thought you were getting to a better point in your life, but realized the funk and dark cloud was still there? And then how did you get through that?
It's called a trigger. Absolutely. It's called a trigger. And so what I had to begin to do is identify what my triggers are. And I worked on my triggers. So yeah, that's it. It definitely happens. The road to recovery is a road. It's a journey. It doesn't happen every night. It's not a destination. And I don't know if I'm still 100% there, right? I'm at a point where I've identified my triggers, so I stay away from it. But things got so bad for me, I couldn't ride down Market Street. I couldn't go to the post office right next to Market Street. That's how bad things were for me. Like I could not physically go. I would have a panic attack going down to downtown St. Louis, 5 minutes from my house. So that's how bad it got for me. So I had to really pray my way through it. And that's the power of prayer. That's the power of having a supportive group. When I told you for step number 3, I said, form a supportive community. You need that. You cannot do it alone. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be very authentic. Like the one thing I had working for me is that I'm comfortable with who I am, and I'm comfortable in my own skin. Like what you see today is who I always am. This is who I always am. I'm not putting on any airs for anybody. I'm not trying to sound extra and overly educated, because that's when you start saying words wrong and stuff. But this is just who I am. And so I was around a group of women and my family who loved me and allowed me that time to unpack my trauma and heal. And they still do. I still probably can't walk in the building. But I don't have to, because if I need to go up there, I'm gonna see somebody, and they gonna do that for me, So yeah, absolutely. Identifying those triggers.
Thank you. So let me ask you this. You noted that after you turned in your resignation, of course, you were unemployed, and you had to figure out what you were going to do next. So you go home. What is your plan, and how do you move forward from that kind of a situation?
So let me correct the record. I did not go home, honey. I went to church. I went and prayed with the Pink Sisters. I called the bishop at Pleasant Grove. I'm Catholic and I'm Baptist. Like, don't judge. I needed the nuns and I needed the bishop, the big bishop. I needed the big bishop, Bishop Jones from Pleasant Grove Church, Courtney Jones. So I needed both of them. So I ain't go home. I went straight and dropped to my knees and prayed about it. And then that's when I got the vision, and God was like, girl, if you don't get up and you got it, you know workforce and education. Like, you say you got the bloodline of Harriet Tubman, like show me. Like, you got some stuff that can't nobody take away from you. Honey, you built this, you can build back better. And they was right, because I am.
So how did you get that next opportunity? How did you move on? And what was that next opportunity?
So the first opportunity was with the Archdiocese. And it was a lot of triggering things that happened in the interview. So I go on an interview and I'm like, hey, I would be the best consultant ever. So I started looking for opportunities in my field, which was education and workforce, because I know, and I knew nobody knew that better than me. And so they loved me. It was a like a 8-person interview, went through a bunch of stuff, but then it was like, do you know what happens when you Google your name? And so those are triggers that I always have to deal with and answer those things. And then from there, I just continue to say, no, like I know that God has more for me, right? And so I wrote the grants at Slate, so I knew that I had that skill set. So I began to write my grants. But you know what? Let me share my screen. I'm going to share my screen with you because I want to show you something. And I show you this I show all of you this to show you. Go ahead and give me co-hosting ability. And I'm going to share this with you because originally I was not going to share anything, but I'm sharing this with you so that you can see what my journey is. So you can see something. Do I have co-hosting ability? Somebody said they often send.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
I do?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Now I don't know what's on my screen because I wasn't prepared to show it. So forgive me if there's anything. Okay, I don't think it's any proprietary information. Let me share this with you. I want to share with you grit and tenacity, what that looks like. Everything.
Alice, we can't see that. We see the Zoom thing for Webster.
Oh yeah, I can't see my screen.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to close it. Well, you have to click on whatever you want us to see.
Okay, so what I wanted you to see was this folder. So I'm going to stop sharing because it may not work. But what I wanted you to see was this folder. And I wanted you to see the grit that it takes to continue to move forward. So even though I had got the first, even though I had gotten the first grant, I didn't stop, to your point. I wrote over 100 grants in a matter of a year and a half. And I wanted you to see my folders. I'm going to say that again. I wrote over 100 grants in a year and a half because I knew somebody was going to say yes. I knew somebody was going to give this new company a chance. I knew somebody was going to find value in me. So although like somebody was like, I sit at Pathways 9 and really high again. And every time I'm with my friend group, we always celebrate like Alice got a new grant. Yeah, I do get all of them, but you don't see the ones, the no's. I got 90 no's. And I remember being on vacation with Carlton. We were in Florida and I got another no. Something I thought I was gonna get, and I just broke down to him, and he was like, "Babe, just keep trying. You got this." So those no's are hard, but that's when you have to have hope in the hard. You gotta have hope in the hard. I wrote 100. I got 9. I got 5.
You know what?
Hope in the hard.
I love that grit. We have a question. How can my business get involved in bioenergy? Do I need to have a background in sciences?
Yes, honey. I did not have a background in sciences before this, but I have it now. And everybody, all of us need to look at bioenergy and how it impacts our community and figure out how you can get in and find your niche. Please, the person who just answered that question, please email us at info@pathwaysunited.org. That's info@pathwaysunited.org. please do that. And we will show you how. We will help you. Anybody who wants to start a business on the phone with us right now, please email us at info@pathwaysunited.org. We're going to help you start your business. We're going to help you get your certifications, your DBEs, MBEs, your economically disadvantaged WOSBs, your WOSBs, your hub zone, your promise zone. And guess what? We're going to do that at no cost to you. And we do it all and operate in excellence because that's what our community deserves. So right now, it doesn't matter. I know we have people tuned in from New York City. So it doesn't matter wherever you're tuned in from. If you are that person that wants to start that business, if you want to get into the bioenergy field, if you don't know where to start with Pathways United. www.pathwaysunited.org, info@pathwaysunited.org. Follow us on IG for updates at pathwaysunited.org. We're on Twitter at pathways_united. You can also follow me at Dr. Alice Prince on IG, and I'm also on Twitter at Dr. Alice Prince 1. You can also stay tuned for season 2 of Good Morning St. Louis. And we also have, come on, Simone, you know I'm a promoter now. I'm a promoter too.
Yeah. Well, I have another question about Pathways United. So
go ahead, Simone.
How many employees do you have? It's often noted that you're hiring employees. How many employees do you have? And how did you build this organization in 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have amazing 6 people, and it's a real job with real benefits. We have great culture. We believe in building a great culture, a great team. If you're ever interested, please follow us on LinkedIn. You can also follow us on IG and Twitter, or go to our website for when we're hiring. I was very intentional about building. I was very intentional about it. And I didn't stop when someone told me no. And so that's what I would tell you to do. Don't stop when somebody tells you no. When you're looking for capital, and that first person tells you no, don't stop. If you are writing a grant and you don't get that grant, don't stop. Don't stop when someone tells you no. That's the only way you're going to be able to build. Use those no's as building blocks.
Okay, 2 questions now. 1, do you provide services in East St. Louis? And 2, someone mentioned the value of a mentor, value obviously of sponsors. Can you talk about any mentors and sponsors that you've had?
Absolutely. So absolutely, East St. Louis, that's like our sister. So absolutely. But we provide services all over the world. As I said, I know that I have people from New York on this line. So if my people from New York on this line and they want to be a part of Pathways United, we can provide services. So I would tell that young man or woman, please email us at info@pathwaysunited.com. .org, info@pathwaysunited.org. And mentorship is so very important. And I think that what happens is people think that mentors have to be much older than you. And they don't have to be older than you. Your friends, your people in business can be your mentors. I call it your own board of directors, right? Make sure you have mentors. Make sure you have your own board of directors. Make sure you have your own people that can pour into you and that you don't mind getting unfiltered advice from. Set your own board of directors up. That positive community that I talk so much about, that is so important. So don't just have one mentor, have multiple mentors. And I call it your own personal board of directors. Set that up. And if anybody wants me to be a part of their personal board of directors, please email us at info@pathwaysunited.org. Follow us on Instagram at Pathways United, or me at Dr. Alice Prince. Follow us on Twitter at Pathways_United, or me at Dr. Alice Prince 1 on Twitter. I would love to be a part of your personal board of directors.
Thank you, Alice. We are about at the end of time. I know there are some additional questions, has your organization, Pathways United, partnered with healthcare organizations. And you can go into the chat and see that, Alice. But I want to be mindful of everyone's time. I want to thank all of you for joining us. Alice, I want to thank you especially for sharing with us from your heart and being very real and honest about everything that's happened with you and how you've taken this very difficult situation and turned it around. Like I always think of you as like a ray of sunshine because you're always so bubbly, you're always so warm, and just a great person to be around. You're very uplifting and you uplift those around you. And so I want you to know I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time to share with us today. So thank you very much. I encourage all of you to join us next month. If you would like more information about our Webster Women in Business events, please do not hesitate to reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can find me at Simone Cummings on LinkedIn at Webster University, because we will have more great programming for you. And I look forward to seeing all of you next month. So have a great evening. Dr. Prince, thank you so much. We so appreciate you. And everyone have a great night.
And Simone, you owe me 3 glasses of wine,
Yes,
one of which I
yes.
will be sharing with Miss Denise.
That's
Thank you guys so much for coming.
Cool.
I appreciate all of you who are on the line, the people I know and the people I don't know. I appreciate you for allowing me to just be my authentic self on tonight. So have an amazing night. Bye-bye.